Hi, this is Andrew Markus. This is Film Music Mentor, and today we're going to talk about the top 7 uses for music in motion pictures. The top 7 uses for music in motion pictures. That's right, I said motion pictures. It's an antiquated term, but I love it. I think it encapsulates all kinds of, well, motion pictures. Video, content, feature film, television, everything is a motion picture. So I love that term, and I'm going to keep using it. And I have a little quote on my website. I think it's probably the first thing you see. It says, "The purpose of music and sound in motion pictures is to make the world of the story feel real." So I believe that with all my heart. Music is there so that that experience of watching whatever you're watching feels real. It feels like you're there and you're not merely an observer. Like I've said before, music is visceral, music is emotional, and it just taps us in. So the top 7 uses, or maybe the most frequent uses of music in motion pictures. Now, some of these might seem very obvious, some may not, and I'm not here to make any set any rules, but just make some suggestions or just bring things to your attention. So, the first reason, and these are in no particular order, would be to establish a setting, time, place. Is your movie in the Wild West? Does it take place in modern day Brooklyn? Does it take place in 18th century London? You may want to use music to establish that, or you may want to go against a convention and not do that. You may want to do something modern. I think there's been lots of examples of both working. I think more tend to use music to establish a time and place that's far away, be it the past or the future. But that's your decision. It's just something to be aware of. Second, to create mood. So, is this a film about a particular emotion? Is the overall arc about fear? Is it about hope? Is it a love story? Is it about romance? So, what is it that you want to feel? What is the mood you want to create? Do you want to scare us? Do you want to thrill us? Do you want to give us a red herring and throw us in the different direction? So, all of these things are great devices that music can help. And whatever you do is fine, but just I would say stay consistent in your expression, and just be thoughtful and mindful before you make these choices. And it's something you might want to think about talking to a composer, talking to a music supervisor, or an editor, whoever's providing the music for this project, to think about that. Okay, next is to enhance or evoke emotion. So the scene itself may not be scary, so you might need music to bring that out. You see two people kissing. I don't know. Maybe you want to bring out the romance. Maybe you don't. I think that was a technique used in the past a lot. Maybe not as much anymore. I think we might be a little more sophisticated and don't need every emotion to be handed to us through our ears as well. But that again is entirely up to you. Um, Next, uh, this is a big one, to cover up or hide sound issues. You might have a fantastic scene, it might look great, but some of the audio might have come out bad. And sometimes music can cover these things up. Sometimes music in the same frequency as the noise, sometimes having something percussive where maybe there's a rattle or some other kind of noise. It can hide and save an otherwise useless piece of footage. And of course, there are other sound ways to handle that, but this is something music can be done, and I've done it a lot. Um, Next, to this is interesting, to tie together two simultaneously occurring scenes. I don't mean a montage. I mean there's a scene happening in one location, a scene happening in another location, and they're intertwined because I guess they're happening at the same exact time. So one method might be to have the music go back and forth. Another is to find some common ground, maybe a song. There's one particular example in my own work where I scored a film called Video Girl, which stars Megan Good. And in this scene, she is having her first romantic encounter with her love interest. Turns out to be not such a nice guy. And simultaneously, her sister gets accidentally shot. She gets hit by a bullet that was meant for somebody else. And so while she's having this beautiful moment. I'm going to say romantic. I think you know what I mean. She's having this one moment in her life. Simultaneously, she's having the worst moment of her life, but she's not aware of it, but we are. And so in this particular film, I used music to enhance the romantic aspect and found that when it played over the violence and the building up to the violence, it really hit home. It worked for me. I think it worked well for the motion picture, for the film. The film played on BET for a long time. People know the movie, so I think it worked. But you can decide what you think. So tying together two scenes that are happening concurrently, simultaneously, and finding a way to express them both musically. Um, to create the illusion of time passing, that's number 6. So I guess we would just call this a montage. It could be a full montage where an athlete's training, let's say, for an upcoming fight or event, and we know that in this little sequence, we're covering weeks or months of time. Um, or it could be, 2 days later or 10 seconds later. Music can do these. This music can give us because music happens in real time. It can also give us the illusion that more time has passed, and it doesn't have to be a cheesy effect. It just can take us from one time in the movie to another, be it montage or just a simple transition. Um, Lastly, number 7 is to sonically create a brand. Now, if you're doing content, obviously you're dealing with a brand, a company, a product. But if you're doing a television series or a film, it's also a brand. And Rocky, I think, has some of the greatest branding. The theme and the tunes from Rocky, they stand the test of time, or at least since 1976 or whatever it was. Rocky, that music, I think, lives on so well, and its subsequent 7 or 8 movies. But I think it identifies so closely with the film and the character and all the scenarios involved in all of the films. I think it's really great. I mean, could you imagine Star Wars without that music, or even Toys R Us without their fantastic jingle? Um, so branding, and it's usually in the form of some theme or quick musical idea, or in a film it could be a series of expansive themes. But generally, it's something melodic. I think that's what we kind of gravitate towards a melody. And some people these days they're afraid to use melody in film. It's a choice, but it's definitely something to think about. What is the theme? What is the audio branding of my particular project? All right. So the top 7 uses for music in motion pictures. To create setting, right? To create a mood is 2. To enhance or evoke emotion, 3. 4 is to cover up some bad sound or unruly noise. 5, to tie together simultaneously occurring scenes. 6 is to create the illusion of time passing. And 7, to sonically create a brand. Thank you. This is Film Music Mentor. I'm Andrew Markus. See you next time.